Hi everyone. Today we're going to be doing the lesson, Write Zeros in the Dividend. Our learning goal is that we can write zeros in the dividend when it is necessary to find the quotient. Remember before when dividing, sometimes we had remainders, sometimes we wrote the remainder as a fraction, and today we're going to add zeros to the dividend so we don't have a remainder. If you remember from previous lessons, we can add zeros or take away zeros to the ends of decimals, and the decimals are still equivalent. For example, I could shade 2/10 here, 1/10, 2/10. So I could show it like this, 2/10. But that's equivalent to 20 hundredths because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 hundredths. So 2/10 and 20 hundredths are equivalent. Adding that zero to the end of the decimal didn't change its value. Let's look at another one. Let's say I have 5/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5/10 is the same as 50 hundredths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means all of this is 50 hundredths. So 5/10 and 50 hundredths are equivalent. Again, adding the zero to the end of the decimal doesn't change its value. That's going to be an important concept when we add zeros to our dividend tonight. Let's see an example. Here we have 12 and 9/10 divided by 6/10. Let's rewrite that another way using what I call the house. 12 and 9/10 is inside the house, and we're dividing that by 6/10, which is in the outside. Now remember from our previous lesson, before we can divide here, we need to move the decimal in our divisor to make it a whole number. In this case, we move it one place to the right, making that a 6. Whatever I do to the divisor, I also have to do to the dividend. So I move my decimal one place to the right. Now I can rewrite my problem. This is now 129 divided by 6, which we've done before. 6 cannot go into 1, but it can go into 12 twice. 2 times 6 is 12. Subtract 0, bring down the 9. 6 goes into 9 one time, which is 6. Subtract, get 3. Here's where I need to pause for a moment, though. In the past, I could have written my answer as 21, remainder 3, or I could have written it as 21 and 3/6, and then simplified that to be 21 and 1/2. But today, I want to add a 0 to my dividend so I can keep dividing. In order to do that, I need to add a decimal and a 0 because I don't want to change this to 1,290. I want to show 129, but with a 0 after the decimal. Now I can bring down that 0. 6 goes into 30. Oops, I forgot. I also need to bring that decimal up in my quotient so I don't forget it. Now I can continue dividing. 6 goes into 30 5 times. 5 times 6 is 30. Subtract and get 0. So I have 21 and 5/10. Here's 3 different ways that quotient can be written. 21 remainder 3, 21 and 1/2, or 21 and 5/10. Remember to check my answer. I can do quotient times divisor, and it should give me my dividend if I'm correct. 1 space here, 0 spaces here. 129 matches 129. I'm correct. Now remember, because you see the pencil symbol on this page, you need to pause the video and write this example into your notes. All right, let's look at another example. Here we have 20 divided by 1 6/10. So 20 is inside my box, or my house. 1 6/10 is on the outside. Just like before I divide, I need to make that divisor a whole number. So I need to move my decimal point over one space, making this 16. Whatever I do to the divisor, I also have to do to the dividend. If you notice, we don't see a decimal point right now. 20 is a whole number. Well, think, where are decimal points located when you have a whole number? Hopefully, you said right at the end. So if I have a decimal point there and I need to move it one place to the right, it would look like this. Now I have 200 divided by 16. 16 cannot divide into 2, but it can divide into 20 one time. 1 times 16 is 16. Subtract, I get 4. Bring down my 0. 16 divides into 40 twice, which is 32. Subtract, I get 8. Now, in the past, we would have just written 12 remainder 8, or we would have written 12 and our remainder is a fraction, so 8/16, which is the same as 12 and 1/2. But now I'm working with decimals. I want to add zeros to my dividend. So, since I already have a decimal point at the end there, after the 200, I can add a 0. And I can figure out that 16 divides into 80. Don't forget to put your decimal point in the quotient. 16 divides into 80 5 times, which is 80. Subtract and get 0. So, I could also have 12 and 5/10. Are you starting to get the hang of it? Since you see the pencil, go ahead and pause the video and also write this example into your notes. Now it's time for you to try one. I'm going to read the problem, then pause the video and try it on your own. When you're finished, resume the video and see how you did. Kevin has a piece of rope that is 1 6/10 meters long. He cut the rope into 5 equal pieces. What is the length of each piece? Go ahead and pause the video and try this on your own. Well, how'd you do? You should have found that each piece of rope was 52 hundredths of a meter. Let's try another one. The owner of the Sweet Treat Candy Company has 6 2/10 pounds of gummy bears that she needs to split evenly between 4 jars. How many pounds of gummy bears will be in each jar? Again, try it on your own, pause the video, and resume to see how you did. Well, how'd you do? You should have said that there was 1 55 hundredths pounds of gummy bears in each jar. To summarize today with our line of learning, in your math journal, please explain when you need to write a 0 in the dividend. This when is an important word because we know this isn't something we always need to do. Be sure to use complete sentences and math vocabulary in your response. Have a good night. And don't forget to go on Canvas and take your quiz.